Hey guys, thanks for joining and trying science. Mr. Drew here, and we're going to be talking about cellular respiration today. So grab a note packet, something to write with, settle in because we've got a lot to learn today about our cells and how they get energy. First things first, make sure you're keeping up with the things. A large project coming up about the cell city. So make sure you've been looking. And let's get started with our first question. Explain where the energy stored in food comes from. I can see a lot of energy in this marshmallow. In fact, it's on fire. It's burning, releasing energy. Where did that energy originally come from? So think back about what this marshmallow is made mostly of sugar. Sugar comes from plants, right, from the process of photosynthesis. And photosynthesis is powered by the energy from the sun, right? So sunlight converted by plants into chemical energy, which then can be released. That's what we're talking about today, guys. And let's take a look at an example of the amount of energy that can be tied up in simple food items.
And so I brought with me two different kinds of food. If you can grab a handful of toasted oats and just toss it in this little porcelain bowl, we kind of got one end of the spectrum of food there.
Okay.
And some cheese puffs here. Oh, load that thing up.
Oh, load it up. All right.
Load it up. What we're going to do is we're going to measure how many calories there are in each of these samples of food. Now, if we were food scientists, nutritionists, we would do this in a very careful and exacting way. We're going to do it really sort of down and dirty today.
No problem.
We're going
Just in the studio, right? No big deal.
Exactly. What we're going to do is we're going to burn these samples, and we're going to measure or observe the flame that comes off. All right? Now, you could do that just by toasting them with the torch.
Okay.
But that's not going to be good enough. We need an excess of oxygen to get them to really combust well. And to do that, I brought with me, or I actually manufactured here, a little liquid oxygen. This blue liquid is liquid oxygen.
Okay, let's pause so you can see what's going on here. We've got oxygen, just like any fire or chemical reaction involving the release of energy. We are going to need what? Fuel and oxygen. Oxygen is going to be what reacts with the fuel to create the energy. It's a chemical reaction, creating some new products at the end. Let's check it out.
It's about 2 balloons worth of oxygen. Far more oxygen than we need to combust this stuff. So here's the deal. I'm going to give you the torch.
Okay.
I know you're excited about
All right.
I'm going to pour the oxygen on the cereal. You're going to hit it with the torch, and then you should probably block your vision. Okay?
All right. This is going to be the end of the road for me, folks.
Go ahead and light that thing up. Don't bring it over quite yet. Get ready. All right. Bring it over and hit them. Hit it and hold it there. All right.
Did I do it too soon?
No, that was great. So now you're getting a sense of how much energy there are in those toasted oats. They're really toasted at this point, right? Very, very still going. Very, very bright flame.
Yeah.
All right, let's try it with the cheese puffs.
Okay. Now,
Okay, well, which one do you think is going to have more energy? Let's check it out.
do I need to hold it on there longer or a little bit less?
No, you did actually really well.
Okay.
That was pretty good. And, we don't want the smoke alarm to go off, so we'll cover that up. All right, so go ahead and light up your torch again.
All right.
So this is the comparison. This is the cheese puffs. Let me get the oxygen in there. Go ahead and hit them. Hold it there for a second. Okay, pull back.
Oh, wow.
Okay, see, that's why I brought the fire extinguisher as well.
Sure.
Incredible amount of energy coming off those cheese puffs.
You can feel the heat from that.
You can feel it. You can see it.
Isn't that amazing? How much energy is locked up in the food? So let's go back to our question. Where did that energy come from? Where do you think? Where did the stored energy come from? First of all, where does the food come from? This sugar, right, in that marshmallow picture. Where did that come from? Yeah, plants, right? The process is called photosynthesis, right? Photosynthesis uses some different, right, carbon dioxide and water plus energy to make sugar and oxygen. Where did the energy come from? Right, the sun's energy. So when we burn this or burn our food or burn our calories, we're releasing the energy that came from the sun. It's the sun's energy coming back to you just in a different form. Pretty cool. Today we're going to talk about how that happens. How do your cells release the energy safely, right? We're not going to actually catch fire. How do we safely harness the energy that's found in food in our cells? And that's called cellular respiration. Does respiration make you think of anything? Right, breathing is respiration. So find your notes near the end, but not quite. Find the part about cellular respiration. Okay. Here you go. Cellular respiration. It's a chemical reaction, a chemical process our cells use to turn the food we eat into energy. In the mitochondria, mitochondrion is singular. All right, pause if you need to, write down your notes, and then we'll continue on. What does this process need? It needs a few requirements. Glucose is your fuel. Oxygen is the other ingredient that's needed. Why? Because when those two things come together and react in your mitochondria, energy is released with water and carbon dioxide. I think the amazing thing about this simple formula is telling you why you eat and why you breathe. Those are probably two of the most important questions I could think of. Let's check this out.
Do you mind? I'm trying to concentrate on my breathing here. Dear Tim and Moby, is respiration the same thing as breathing? From Chad. I'm practicing deep breathing, but breathing and respiration are two different things. Breathing is part of the respiratory system, a group of organs that deliver oxygen from the air we breathe to cells throughout the body. Respiration, or cellular respiration to be exact, is what living cells do with that precious oxygen. Right, we all need oxygen to survive. But did you ever stop to wonder why? Yeah, that's what I thought. We use oxygen to process glucose, a simple sugar that provides all the energy cells need to function. All day long, your digestive system is busy breaking down food and turning it into glucose to power your cells. Glucose, along with oxygen from your lungs, is delivered to your cells through your bloodstream. Inside tiny cellular structures called mitochondria, these substances undergo a chemical reaction called respiration. When the reaction is complete, three things are left over: an energy-packed molecule called ATP, water, and the waste gas, carbon dioxide. Your cells expel the carbon dioxide into your blood, which carries it to your lungs. When you breathe out, you're exhaling this carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is a harmful waste gas that your body needs to get rid of. If too much carbon dioxide builds up in your blood, you die. Right, the ATP. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate, and cells use it to do everything that requires work. The energy in ATP lets cells synthesize complex organic molecules like DNA, RNA, and proteins. It powers the muscle contractions that let us move around. And lots more. That's true. Cellular respiration isn't just for humans. You find it happening inside the cells of all living animals, and even plants. Another good point. Because it uses oxygen, cellular respiration is also called aerobic respiration.
That's pretty great. I mean, wow, why we breathe and why we eat all in one. Let's write down the formula. This might look familiar to you. Go ahead and pause if you need to. But think about all these O's and H2O's and CO2's and C6H12O6. Why, that looks really familiar. We've written these down before. We've written down the word oxygen, glucose, carbon dioxide, and water. When did we do that? Well, we did it a few lessons ago when we talked about photosynthesis. In fact, all of these are the same exact words, but the whole thing's reversed. We've got this process of taking what plants produce, which is the glucose and the oxygen, and we're turning that around and we're making the energy, and we're getting out what plants took in, which was the carbon dioxides and water. So it's really a reverse reaction. It's the opposite of photosynthesis, and it's happening in all mitochondria. Plant cells, animal cells, you name it. Let's take a look at a little bit more detailed cellular respiration.
Our bodies need energy to move, to eat, to breathe. The chemical energy in the human body is produced in a part of the cell called the mitochondria. mitochondria convert the food you eat in the form of organic molecules into chemical energy that can be used by the cell, called ATP. ATP is the fuel of the human body. The process of converting organic nutrients that you eat into ATP is called cellular respiration. As the agents that create energy for you, mitochondria are incredibly important to the functioning of the human body. Cells that require more energy contain more mitochondria. Muscle cells use a lot of ATP for muscle contraction. In order to produce the amount of ATP that's required, there are more mitochondria found in muscle cells. Inside mitochondria, there are two membranes, an outer membrane and an inner membrane. The double membrane structure of mitochondria is really important to the process of cellular respiration because it allows mitochondria to sort molecules that it uses for chemical processes. Scientists think that mitochondria evolved from bacteria and used to be a separate single-celled organism. The reason for this theory is that mitochondria contain their own genetic information. Eventually, mitochondria were incorporated into the cell of another organism, and from then on, mitochondria have lived on inside their host cells, manufacturing energy for other organisms. When you breathe, you're bringing oxygen into your body that mitochondria use during cellular respiration. Cellular respiration that uses oxygen is called aerobic.
All right, so what about this ATP word we've been hearing about? ATP is just a short way of saying adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate is ATP. It's a molecule. Here, I've pictured it below. Each of these would be different atoms, and these yellows are phosphates. There's the P. It's a molecule in cells used like a battery. So mitochondria don't just burn fuel, burn glucose with oxygen like you would in a fireplace. That energy would be quickly burned up and used and not very useful. Instead, that energy is used to create ATP molecules, which can float around in the cell's cytoplasm and be used anytime you need it for energy. So if a cell needs to move or contract, if it's a muscle cell or if it's growing or dividing or ribosomes are building things, that is what we're using. This form of energy, a chemical form of energy called ATP. So, on your paper, you have some questions, and I've got some sentence starters because it's always great to begin with complete sentences. So let's take about 4 or 5 minutes, pause the video, write down your sentence starters, and then continue on with your answers. When you're ready, unpause the video, and we'll talk about these questions. Okay, welcome back. Thanks for doing these. Where do cells get glucose for respiration? Well, from food. Originally, food is made by plants through the process of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis creates glucose. What's the name of the molecule that stores energy? We just talked about it. ATP. Cellular respiration is similar to photosynthesis. Why? They both have the exact same molecules. 6 CO2, 6 O2, 6 H2O, glucose, okay? And they're both involving energy as well. Well, if they're using all the same molecules, aren't they the same thing? No, they're different because they're opposites. They're completely mirror images. They're inverse. They're opposite reactions. So guys, hope you understand the importance of this process. It's the way our cells get energy out of food. It's why you breathe, not only in, but out to remove CO2. It's why you eat, to take in the glucose from plants. So think about that next time you eat or breathe or both. And I want to thank you guys for trying science and really studying up on this. It's an important one. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye for now.